Hi everyone, this is Rochelle with Lost and Found with P here, and today's episode is going to be about mistrust and pessimism schema. I have joining me today my cousin Courtney Timmons, who is going to help me demonstrate in a fun activity called Human Pac-Man. So in this game, Courtney and I are going to race against each other to see who can grab the most Pac-Man balls. At the end, we will unpack our schemas together. All right, let's get to it. Courtney, you have 15 seconds to use your Pac-Man handle to collect as many Pac-Man balls as you can. I'm going to help you out here. All right, and go. Okay. All right. So Courtney, close back up your luggage. All right. You got so many schemas in your luggage. It was hard to close. So this is Courtney's luggage of all of the schemas that she collected. So she had quite a few schemas when we started, and so they are symbolic of that. Sometimes in life, in our upbringing, we already have schemas. And then as we go on and experience life, we can pick up new schemas that are not so good for us. And so we're gonna unpack Courtney's schemas when the game is over. So now it is my turn to be the human Pac-Man. Courtney, if you will keep the time for me so it can be fair. Pac-Man. All right, and I'm going to collect as many as I can. And timer is up. So as you guys can see, I also have a luggage filled with schemas, things that I have collected along the way. And so these Pac-Man balls represent, remember, mistrust and pessimism schemas. So we're going to open our luggage. We're going to figure out which schemas we're carrying based on the clues that are inside. All right, Courtney, would you like to go first? Like, we'll take turns. You pick one, then I'll pick one.
Yes, we can take turns. Okay. My first schema. I should prepare for the worst.
Okay. So do you think that that is pessimism or mistrust?
I would say mistrust.
So it could fall. The thing about schemas is they can be very closely related. But for this example, this is pessimism.
Okay.
So pessimism, when people are pessimistic, they are always expecting the worst. They are thinking that things are not going to turn out right.
Okay. I can very much so see that.
It's like the people that say, you know, if something can go wrong, it will.
It will go wrong, yes.
Okay. Let me open my Pac-Man ball. It's probably pessimism because it won't mean nothing. Okay, there we go. Emotion. Anxious about getting hurt or being betrayed. All right, you guys, bring it up. And so I believe this is mistrust.
Yes.
When you feel like someone's going to hurt you if you get too close. And this is like anxious about getting hurt or being betrayed. But it could also be pessimism because they are expecting the worst to happen. So these kind of are closely related.
All right, I'm going with my next schema. Behavior. Denying you've had difficult experiences.
So this seems like, just to give the audience a background, this, when we talked about maladaptive coping skills in our series, it talks about different behaviors. Now you may say, okay, denying that you've had difficulties doesn't sound like mistrust or pessimism. But remember, a counteractive maladaptive coping skill is doing the complete opposite of the schema because you're trying to overcompensate for the schema. So denying that you've had difficult experiences, I would guess that might fall under pessimistic schema. And the reason why I say that is because when you're pessimistic, you think that the worst is going to happen. So a counteractive coping skill, which is to pretend as if it never happened.
Yes, I can see that as well. Very insightful.
Thought. Well, this is obvious. Bad things always happen to me. So this is, once again, pessimism.
Okay. Behavior. Worrying excessively.
Oh, I got this in the bag.
Yeah. I think that is definitely pessimism. Just based off just expecting the worst. It kind of goes hand in hand. If it could happen, and it will happen.
Yeah, because if you're in the therapy world, we call that catastrophizing. It's a cognitive distortion. So you're expecting that things are going to go to worst case scenario, and with that thought pattern comes worry. So if you're worrying excessively, that means that you're going to worst case scenario, predicting that the worst is going to happen. Origin, being abused. So I think that this is the mistrust schema. Because when we think about early experiences, what causes a person to not be trustworthy of others? They've had some type of bad experience and they have built, that schema that I cannot trust other people. Even if you haven't directly experienced, you may have indirectly experienced it and you develop the mistrust schema. So even if you have heard things that have happened to other people, or you have seen things that have happened to other people, and you didn't directly experience, you can also develop this schema. We can develop this schema based on what is happening in the world right now. So if you have witnessed people being abused, if you have been abused, you've been in environments where people were abused, you can develop a mistrust schema.
Behavior, setting low expectations. I'm going to say it's obviously not misuse, so it is pessimism.
So, because if you already think that things aren't going to turn out right for you, then you're going to lower the bar. Right. You're not going to have very good thoughts about yourself or your life, and so you just lower the bar so you don't be disappointed. That's pessimistic. Thought, it's better to not hope than be disappointed. And so a lot of people, when they have had bad experiences and it doesn't seem like things are working out for them, they tend to have these type of thoughts or thoughts similar to these. And this is attached to the pessimistic schema. So I'd rather not hope at all and then to let myself get built up with hopes and then be let down. So there's still thinking that they're going to be let down.
Thought, I should hurt them before they hurt me. Pessimism.
That is actually mistrust.
Oh, I can say that, man.
Because it comes from being given a reason to not trust. And so that one's tricky because it's a counter, remember that maladaptive coping counteractive?
Right.
That's the one that's tricky because it's the complete opposite of what you think the schema would be. And so when we see people that are aggressive, people that are manipulative, there's some history of trauma there, some history of abuse.
Right.
Because they're like, I'm going to get them before they get me.
Perfect.
And you wouldn't have that mindset if someone hasn't got you before.
Yes. Oh, perfect. I can see that.
Not sharing much about yourself. I'm going to go with this as I think it's mistrust, honestly. Because I kind of fall into that category. I do not trust. I'm very guarded. And when you think about being guarded, that comes from mistrust. That comes from somebody has hurt you in the past. And so you're guarded with your information. You're guarded with people, being vulnerable with people because you do not trust.
Right.
So I'm going to go with mistrust being the root of this behavior.
Emotion, regretful about the past. Can I say, could it possibly be both?
I think it could be both because I'm just sitting here thinking that I see it from different perspectives.
Misuse came first, but then they follow up with the pessimism, just simply because when people are hurt or have been hurt or know of other people's experiences of being hurt, they are definitely have that guard up, and that always keeps them reserved from what the future may hold because of the past.
Yeah, I definitely think it could be both. And as we get into schema work, it is tricky. This is why a lot of people don't recognize that they have certain schemas because they overlap. It's just like in the clinical world, we'll see that a lot of people get misdiagnosed because symptoms overlap. For example, children get misdiagnosed with ADHD during childhood when it could really be trauma. Because in children, trauma symptoms can relate to, not being able to focus, not being able to concentrate, mind being elsewhere. So you really have to, know them for a while, get to know them, get to know all of their history. So if you're seeking therapy, it's important to be completely truthful with your therapist so that you will not be misdiagnosed because a lot of things overlap. And so just like schemas, a lot of schemas overlap. That's why I put these two schemas together because they go hand in hand.
They do.
Like you just don't wake up one morning and be Eeyore and have a pessimistic view of the world. Something has had to happen in order for you to be pessimistic. It goes hand in hand with mistrust. Something has had to happen for you to feel like you can't be safe with people or that you cannot trust people. Emotion. Helpless and unable to improve the situation. So the emotion is feeling helpless. I'm going to say that this is mistrust. Because we know that mistrust can stem from abuse, from that other egg or Pac-Man ball we had. And I think a lot of times in abuse cases, people do feel helpless. And so that's why I'm attaching that to the mistrust schema.
Thought. I need to test how trustworthy they are.
I think that's mistrust because you automatically assuming like some people say you're innocent until proven guilty.
Right.
You know, like you're guilty until I find evidence that otherwise. And so you go in it already thinking that someone is not trustworthy, and you're honing in on the things that they do. So they basically have to prove to themselves that they're capable of trust. So you have a mistrust schema. That one. Behavior, avoiding intimacy. I think that comes. It could be both. I'm gonna choose mistrust. It could be both, but I'm gonna choose mistrust because being intimate with somebody is a very vulnerable state to be in. And if a person does not trust people, generally,
it's gonna be hard.
Yeah, they don't want to be in a vulnerable position. Like they do not want you to catch them slipping.
Right.
And because they know that it's going to hurt if they find out that they cannot trust you.
Right. Origin. Learn behavior, being taught not to trust others.
Well, there we go. That's mistrust. Like, and that's where people say generational curses or generational trauma. It's not as if a curse was put on your family. It's when we pass down patterns. Sometimes knowingly, sometimes unknowingly, you're passing these things down in this learned behavior.
Right.
And so if you are even observing your parents say things like, I wouldn't trust them, or you can't trust a man, then you are observing that behavior and you're learning that behavior, and it's turning into a schema. It's turning into a core belief. And so you look through things through a different lens. So funny story. My very first job was domestic violence. So imagine being 20 years old and your very first job is domestic violence, and you come in contact with women who are in the worst situations. So during that time, I'm seeing it like, no, you can't trust men, or what's up with you? Like, I always got a raised eyebrow for the worst case scenario. It don't help that I watched Law and Order in the first 48 hours and have been watching a Netflix documentary about bad men. That doesn't help the scheme. But the other day, we were both of us were going out to pick up dinner, and a guy offered us some food. Just being friendly, just being himself, trying to probably meet new friends. My immediate thought was, what has he sprinkled over that food to try to drug us? Like, why is he just randomly offering us food and we haven't seen what he's done with it, what he's put in it? Courtney's immediate thought was more innocent. She was suspicious, but she didn't go down worst case scenario. She didn't go down a slippery slope like I did. She was like, is he a chef? And if he's a chef, why is he walking around with food uncovered? Her thought was more innocent, a little bit more.
Why did he just seem like he was offering it to just us?
And that's why my mind went down a slippery slope. Like, did he drug this? I want to see myself on Law and Order SVU because he's put something in this food. But obviously, he was just trying to be friendly and just trying to make a friend. And when we, turned down what he was offering, he just went about his way and respected our boundaries. But that's the situation. We were both in the same situation, but we both had different perspectives about it. And that is because of our schemas.
And honestly, we were able to unpack once the situation had, dispersed and we're kind of move on to a different part of the night, we were able to unpack, like, oh, that was your standpoint, that was my standpoint, but same experiences, same situation, but different experiences.
Right, and that comes from what's at your core. That comes from your schemas. And honestly, y'all know I don't trust people. Anybody that knows me, yes, I'm a therapist, but I'm side-eyeing everybody. And that's just because of my experiences in the field, my life experiences. That is a schema that I have to learn how to heal. We all are healing something.
Oh, thank you, Renee.
Thank you, I just did a lot of talking. Emotion, anxious or hopeless. And what they are anxious or hopeless about is the future. So I'm going to say this is pessimism, because once again, they are predicting that things are going to turn out badly no matter what. So that is what's causing them to be anxious or feel hopeless about the future. So that would be pessimism, Steve.
Okay. This is thought. Life never turns out the way I want it to. I would say this is, I'm going to say my first thought is pessimism.
Yep.
But could it also fall under mistrust?
I mean, it really could, and depending on what approach you wanted to take. I say it's pessimism mainly because it's, like, once again, just feeling hopeless. It's that emotion that comes up. But it could also be mistrust. It could be mistrust in their own abilities. And then that takes us down to a different schema that we haven't even got into yet. But for those that are watching, it also goes into defectiveness schema, which we also will discuss. Not tonight, though, in another episode. All right. The emotion, suspicious. We already know. Suspicious of other people's motives. I already know this like the back of my hand. This is mistrust schema. Always giving someone the side eye or the raised eyebrow, like, what's your angle here?
Yes. Do you have a hidden agenda? An alternative? Okay. Behavior. Avoiding situations that make us pessimistic.
But we know that's pessimism schema that gives it away. Okay. So that's the behavior, that's a maladaptive or negative coping skill. So instead of dealing with things that bring up the pessimism, they're just going to avoid it. They're just going to try to stay out of situations
Is it really avoidable, though?
So for an example, let's say that you want a raise. You want to advocate for a raise at work. Someone with pessimism schema is not even going to go after that raise. They want it, but they're not going to go after that raise because they are like, I'm not going to get it anyway. Why try? I don't want to be disappointed. Okay. I'm not going after that raise. Or there's this really cute guy that they see and they're like, nah, I'm not going to approach him because he's gonna reject me and I'm going to feel hurt. Yeah. And so they already predicting that it's going to turn out badly. So they try to avoid those situations. Just like that, that's why it could have been both. Avoiding intimacy. That could have been pessimism too, because they might avoid intimacy because of the rejection. So they really go hand in hand. It's kind of like this. Origin, also learned behavior. Parents had a negative outlook on life. Yeah. I'm going to say this is pessimism because of that negative outlook on life part. So the origin for some people being pessimistic is because they learned it. Their parents were like the Eeyores. They always looked on the negative side of things.
And they created more Eeyores. Yeah. Origin, being bullied.
I say that could be both. But
I think more towards mistrust.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Behavior. Believing the worst is sure to happen. I'm going to say this is pessimism.
Yes. Behavior. Numbing your unhappiness. Example was with alcohol.
Yeah. So I think this would be avoidance. That avoiding, it falls in a category of the coping skill of avoidance. And so one way of avoiding your pain or your schema is to just numb it.
Mm-hmm.
And so the example that they gave was alcohol, drugs, but people oftentimes numb themselves with people. Like people that are not good for them because it provides a distraction. Or being with multiple people because it provides a distraction. Or even numbing yourself with things that one wouldn't even consider unhealthy, like work. Just pouring yourself into work to avoid, to kind of check out.
Yeah.
All right, Courtney, down to the last few schemas. We didn't unpack a lot. Behavior. This is tricky. Remember I told you about counteractive coping. It's doing the complete opposite to overcompensate. So this behavior, being extremely optimistic.
Oh.
So I'm going to say that's pessimistic schema, because if someone is like Eeyore, they always looking on the bad side of things. But on the outside, they're overly optimistic, which they are showing other people that, oh, it's going to turn out great. Just let your little light shine. Everything always works out for good.
Right.
But in their core, they don't believe that. But this is their counteractive approach. They got to go through one extreme. In therapy, I tell people, like, therapy is not about saying, let all your thoughts be positive. No, it's not about that. It's about you reviewing your thoughts, reviewing where they come from, and making them balanced.
Right.
Not every situation is happy-go-lucky. Some situations, they really are bad situations. But you have to try to find a balanced thought in between it so it doesn't weigh you down. Like, if you're on extremes, you're not in a balanced place. But if you can look at it,
and you can't always be in positive space too. Okay.
Like if somebody has you locked in their trunk, I don't think you're gonna be happy about it.
Right.
You need to find
looking on the bright side. Yeah.
You need to find a logical way to look at that situation. The logical way is, how do I get out of this trunk?
Right.
Being positive, like, oh yeah, I'm riding in the trunk and we're going to the beach. I don't think you're gonna get out of that lot. I mean, you could,
right?
But
that's true.
Everything is not meant to. We're not supposed to live in extremes. We need to be balanced.
I know, right? Behavior, mistreating people. Oh. I'm gonna go with misuse.
I once read a quote or some type of saying I saw on social media that says both empaths and narcissists come from a history of some type of trauma, but in that trauma they make a choice. And so this one, mistreating people, I think that's when someone was abused themselves and they took a counteractive approach to dealing with it. They're like, okay, somebody mistreated me. I'm going to do the same to other people so I can feel superior, so that I can feel in control by mistreating other people, so that I can feel good about who I am.
Right.
Emotion, lonely and isolated. I really think that could be both.
Yeah.
But I'm going, for the sake of this, I'm going to say mistrust. Because if you don't trust anybody, that can be a very lonely and isolated life because you don't trust anybody enough to let them in.
Right. So you much rather be alone. Or
because people don't trust people tend to push people away. And so that's why I'm going with that one. A pessimist might be with somebody. They just not seeing the good side of being with somebody. They just, but somebody that doesn't trust people, they're either gonna try to constantly find ways to make the person prove themselves. They're just gonna push them away. So I feel like that's my take on it, that it falls under mistrust schema. But it could really be both. So these are so similar.
All right. My last one. I promise I can get it open. Origin. Feeling trapped in a difficult situation. I'm leaning more towards pessimism schema.
I can see it.
Just simply because it's almost like one previous. You're just always looking for the bad, and being trapped in something.
I feel like that too. I feel like pessimists don't even allow themselves to see another way out or see another solution, and so they are trapped. They're trapped inside of their own mind. I'll give you another example because I'm pretty good at being transparent now. That means that I have healed some schemas. But I used to be terrified of public speaking. One of my friends and roommates will tell you that the night before I had the public speak in front of our class, I wasn't eating, I wasn't sleeping, I was tired, I was anxious, and all these thoughts came in my mind like, people gonna think I don't know what I'm talking about.
Right.
I'm gonna get up there stuttering when I talk. Like, I'm going to be rambling.
You had already put it in your mind.
I had already put it in my mind so much so that when I got up there to speak, that's what I heard. Like, no, I am not crazy. But when I got up there to speak, that's what I heard. And so to challenge that, I asked my friend. I trusted her. So I asked her, I said, how was my presentation? And she said, I thought you did an amazing job. You're an amazing speaker. That helped to
tone it down.
That helped us tone it down a little bit. There was a tiny crack in the schema because I trusted this person. They always told me the truth. And so if they had any critique, they would give it to me. And so I started putting myself in situations not to avoid, but to start to heal that schema.
Right.
And so I started getting in research programs where we got judged on our research and we had to speak in front of doctors. And when I started winning and being acknowledged, I was like, all right, there's something to this. Maybe I am a good speaker. And now I'm doing podcasts. So speaking to a lot of people. And now that's what I actually want to do. That's a dream of mine, to travel around the world, talk about self-esteem, uplifting people. The girl who didn't even want to speak in front of people. Now that's my dream. So healing a schema can change your life.
Right.
If you have a mistrust schema and you want a family and you want someone to love you and you want your version of happily ever after, you're going to have to heal that schema. Because if you're going around mistrusting people, you're never going to allow people the opportunity to even come in. If you want friendships, not even romantic relationships, but if you want friendships, you got to put yourself out there. You got to heal that schema. You got to put yourself around people and know that you have some control. If people start mistreating you and you actually see it, that they're mistreating you, get out of the situation and surround yourself with people who do not mistreat you. Because the more that you gravitate towards people that do mistreat you, guess what you're doing? Feeding this little Pac-Man. This Pac-Man is getting full and full and full off of these little eggs. because you're feeding the schema, which is why we're wearing these little things to represent that the more you gravitate towards situations, or the more that you hold on to thoughts that feed the schema, the bigger it gets. When you deprive the schema, when you starve the schema, then you're cracking at it. You're challenging.
No longer feeding it.
You're no longer feeding it. It's shrinking. It's shriveling. Do I still get nervous when I have to speak? Yeah, a little bit. But it is not debilitating. I enjoy doing it. Anything that is new, that you don't know what's going to happen, anxiety creeps up a little. That's normal. But when it's debilitating and it's keeping you from the things that you want, that's when you need to address it in therapy. When the schemas are so loud that you don't have the life that you desire, and you can tell that it's a schema when in every situation, whether you're at work, whether you're in a romantic relationship, whether you're in your friendships, whether you're in family relationships, the same thing keeps coming up. The same theme keeps coming up. Like at work, you don't trust anybody. In romantic relationships, you don't trust anybody. In friendships, you don't trust anybody. Ding, ding, ding.
You might be the problem.
You might be the problem. Or better yet, your schema is the problem. So you got to figure out what core belief, what schema is being fed, because in all these situations, I am miserable. I'm not happy. In all of these situations, my mind is gravitating towards this schema. And so you guys, if you find, because we all have lived a life, right? The older you get, you have had some experiences. And they develop a schema. Whether you developed it early in life, whether you developed it in adolescence, we all have lived a life. And so I'm pretty sure that you got a schema or two. But if it is really controlling your life, hindering how great you could be, please reach out to a licensed therapist. Figure out what they are trained in, the treatment methods that they use, their specialties, so that you can begin to navigate these things with someone who can help you unpack in a healthy way. Because what I know about trauma is when you start unpacking it, step aside, Courtney. When you start unpacking it, it gets messy. Courtney and I are going to have to clean up all this mess that we have unpacked. But we're going to do it together.
Right.
It's always easier to unpack things when you have someone with you. If you are unpacking your trauma by yourself and you don't have any coping skills to be able to manage what you've unpacked,
it may not be truly getting unpacked.
It might not be truly be getting unpacked, and you might not be unpacking it in a healthy way. You might find that your symptoms get worse before they get better. So you're going to need someone to help you navigate that. You're going to need to be in a safe space to navigate those things. All right, you guys. This was the episode of Mistrust and Pessimism Schema. Like I mentioned before, if any of these things resonated with you, yes, we have fun during this activity, but these are serious topics. If any of these things resonated with you, please use the resources that I'm going to attach below so that you can reach out to a therapist that will help you unpack in a healthy way. As always, this is Rochelle with Lost and Found with P-Care. This is Courtney Timmons, and thank you for joining us on this episode.